Hello, and welcome to the 35th episode of Scripture in a Year, hosted by Saints Peter and Paul Orthodox Church in the Albanian Archdiocese of the OCA. Today's reading is Numbers chapters 17 through 20. Now the Lord spoke to Moses and to Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest. Take up the copper censers out of the midst of those burned up, and scatter the strange fire there, so as to sanctify the censers of those sinners, even the censers of the men who sinned at the cost of their lives, and make them into beaten plates as a covering for the altar, so they might be brought before the Lord and sanctified to become a sign to the children of Israel. And Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, took the copper censers which those burned up had brought, and they added those as a covering for the altar, as a memorial to the children of Israel, that no outsider who is not of Aaron's seed should put incense before the Lord, and be like Korah and his insurrection, as the Lord said by the hand of Moses. The next day the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron, saying, You killed the people of the Lord. Now it happened, when the congregation regrouped itself against Moses and Aaron, they hastened to the tabernacle of testimony, and the cloud covered it, and the Lord's glory was seen. Then Moses and Aaron entered the front of the tabernacle of testimony, and the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, Get away from the midst of this congregation, and I will utterly destroy them at once. So they fell on their faces. Then Moses said to Aaron, Take the censer, put fire in it from the altar, throw incense on it, and carry it quickly to the camp, and make atonement for them. For wrath has gone out from the Lord's face, and it is beginning to strike the people. So Aaron took it as Moses told him, and ran into the assembly, and already the plague had begun among the people. So he threw in the incense and made atonement for the people, and he stood between the dead and the living, so the plague ceased. Now those who died in the plague were 14,700, besides those who died because of Korah. Then Aaron returned to Moses at the door of the tabernacle of testimony, and the plague ceased. After this the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and get a rod from them, a rod from each of their fathers' houses, from all their rulers according to their fathers' houses, 12 rods. Write each man's name on the rod. You shall also write Aaron's name on the rod of Levi, for there is one rod that shall be given according to the tribe of their fathers' houses. Then you shall put them in the tabernacle of testimony, before the ark of the testimony, where I will be known to you. So it shall be, the man I choose, his rod will blossom. Thus I will remove the murmurings of the children of Israel, which they murmur against you. Then Moses spoke to the children of Israel, and each of their rulers gave him a rod apiece, for each ruler according to their fathers' houses, 12 rods, and Aaron's rod was in the midst of their rods. Moses then put the rods before the Lord in the tabernacle of testimony. Now it came to pass on the next day, Moses entered the tabernacle of testimony, and behold, Aaron's rod for the house of Levi had sprouted and put forth buds, and had produced blossoms and yielded ripe almonds. Then Moses brought out all the rods from before the Lord to all the children of Israel, and they looked, and each man took his rod. The Lord then said to Moses, Bring Aaron's rod back before the testimonies as a sign to the sons of the disobedient, and let their murmuring cease from before me, lest they die. Thus did Moses, as the Lord ordered him, so he did. So the children of Israel spoke to Moses, saying, Behold, we are utterly destroyed, we are ruined, we are consumed. Whoever touches the tabernacle of the Lord dies. Shall we utterly die? Now the Lord spoke to Aaron, saying, You and your sons and your father's house with you shall bear the sins of the holy things, and you and your sons with you shall bear the sins of your priesthood. You shall also bring your brethren, the tribe of Levi, the tribe of your father, to yourself, and they shall be joined and added to you, and minister liturgically with you, and your sons with you before the tabernacle of testimony. They shall perform your guard duties and the duties of the tabernacle, but they shall not come near the holy vessels and the altar, lest they die. They and you also. They shall be joined to you, and perform the guard duties of the tabernacle of testimony, and all the liturgical services of the tabernacle. but an outsider shall not come near you. Thus you shall perform the guard duties of the holy things and the altar, so there may be no more wrath on the children of Israel. Behold, I took your brethren, the Levites, from the midst of the children of Israel, as a gift given to the Lord, to minister liturgically in the tabernacle of testimony. Therefore you and your sons with you shall take care of your priesthood according to the manner of the altar and within the veil. And you shall minister liturgically as the gift of your priesthood. But the outsider who comes near shall be put to death. Again the Lord spoke to Aaron, I give you charge over the firstfruits from all the things sanctified to me by the children of Israel, and I give these things to you and your sons with you as your share. This shall be an eternal ordinance. So let this be yours from the sanctified holy things of the offering, from all their gifts, from all their sacrifices, from all their trespass offerings, and from all their sin offerings, and from whatever they return to me. Let all of these holy things belong to you and your sons. In a most holy place you shall eat these things. Every male shall eat these things. It shall be holy to you. This also shall be a firstfruit for you from their gifts, from all the deposit offerings of the children of Israel. I give these things to you and to your sons and daughters with you. This shall be an eternal ordinance. Everyone who is clean in your house shall eat these things. The firstfruits of oil, wine, and grain, all their firstfruits, whatever they may offer to the Lord, I give these things to you. Whatever first ripe fruit is in their land, which they bring to the Lord, shall be yours. Everyone who is clean in your house shall eat these things. Every devoted thing in Israel shall be yours. Everything that first opens the womb of all flesh, which they bring to the Lord, from man to cattle, shall be yours. Nevertheless, the firstborn of men you shall redeem, and the firstborn of unclean cattle you shall redeem. Now as for its redemption at the age of 1 month, the rate is 5 shekels according to the holy shekel, that is 20 obols. But the firstborn of young bulls, the firstborn of sheep, or the firstborn of goats, you shall not redeem. They are holy. You shall pour out their blood toward the altar, and offer their fat as a burnt offering for a sweet aroma to the Lord. Their meat also shall be yours, just as the breast of the deposit offering and the right shoulder are yours. Every choice part of the holy things which the children of Israel offer to the Lord, I give to you and your sons and daughters with you, as an eternal ordinance. It is an eternal covenant of salt before the Lord with you and your seed with you. Moreover, the Lord said to Aaron, You shall have no inheritance in their land, nor shall you have any portion among them. I am your portion and your inheritance in the midst of the children of Israel. Behold, I give the children of Levi all the tithes in Israel as an inheritance in return for their liturgical service, whatever they minister liturgically in the tabernacle of testimony. Hereafter the children of Israel shall not come near the tabernacle of testimony, lest they bear guilt and die. But the Levite himself shall minister liturgically in the tabernacle of testimony, and they shall bear their sins. It shall be an eternal ordinance throughout your generations, that in the midst of the children of Israel they shall have no inheritance, for the tithes of the children of Israel, whatever they may offer as a choice portion to the Lord, I give to the Levites as an inheritance. Therefore I say to them, in the midst of the children of Israel they shall have no inheritance. Thus the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak thus to the Levites, and say to them, If you receive from the children of Israel the tithe which I give you from them as your inheritance, then you shall remove from it the Lord's choice portion, 1/10 of the tithe. Now your choice portion shall be reckoned to you as the grain from the threshing floor, and as the choice portion of the winepress. Thus you shall then remove the Lord's choice portions from all your tithes, whatever you might receive from the children of Israel, and you shall give from them the Lord's choice portion to Aaron the priest. From all your gifts you shall remove the choice portion for the Lord, or from all the firstfruits, that which is sanctified from it. Therefore you shall say to them, When you remove the firstfruit from it, then all the rest shall be accounted to the Levites as the produce of the threshing floor, and as the produce of the winepress. You may eat it in any place, you and your households, for it is your reward for your liturgical service in the tabernacle of testimony. Now you shall bear no guilt because of it, for you removed the firstfruit from it. But you shall not defile the holy things of the children of Israel, lest you die. Now the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, This is the injunction of the law, whatever the Lord ordered, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and let them bring you a red heifer without blemish, in which there is no defect, and upon which a yoke has never been placed. You shall give it to Eleazar the priest, and he shall take it outside the camp to a clean place, and they shall slaughter it before him. And Eleazar the priest shall take some of its blood, and sprinkle it 7 times directly in front of the tabernacle of testimony. Then it shall be burned in his sight. Its hide, its flesh, and its blood with its dung shall be burned. The priest shall then take cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet, and cast them into the midst of the fire burning the red heifer. After this the priest shall wash his clothes, bathe his body in water, and come into the camp. The priest shall be unclean until evening. Also the one who burns it shall wash his clothes in water, bathe his body in water, and be unclean until evening. Then a man who is clean shall gather up the ashes of the red heifer, and put them away outside the camp in a clean place, and they shall be kept in reserve for the congregation of the children of Israel, for a water of sprinkling. It is for purification. Then the one who gathers the ashes of the red heifer shall wash his clothes and be unclean until evening. It shall be an eternal ordinance to the children of Israel and to the resident alien who dwells among them. He who touches the dead body of any person shall be unclean 7 days. He shall cleanse himself on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day he will be clean. But if he does not purify himself on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day, he will not be clean. Whoever touches the dead body of any person who has died and does not purify himself defiles the tabernacle of the Lord. That soul shall be destroyed from Israel. He shall be unclean because the water of sprinkling was not sprinkled on him. His uncleanness is still on him. Now this is the law if a man dies in a house. Everyone who comes into the house and whoever is in the house shall be unclean 7 days. And every open vessel which has no cover fastened on it is unclean. Whoever in the open field touches one who is slain by a sword, or who has died a natural death, or a bone of a man, or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days. So for the unclean they shall take some of the ashes of the burnt offering of purification, put them in a vessel, and pour running water on them. Then a clean man shall take hyssop and dip it into the water, and sprinkle it upon the house, and upon all the vessels, and the souls who were there, and upon the one who touched the human bone, or the one slain by the sword, or the one who died a natural death, or the grave. The clean shall sprinkle the unclean on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day, and on the 7th day he shall purify himself, wash his clothes, and bathe in water, and he shall be unclean until evening. But the man who is unclean and does not purify himself, that soul shall be utterly destroyed from among the congregation, because he defiled the holy things of the Lord, and the water of purification was not sprinkled on him. He is unclean. This shall be an eternal ordinance for you. He who sprinkles the water of purification shall wash his clothes, and he who touches the water of purification shall be unclean until evening. And whatever the unclean one touches shall be unclean. And the soul who touches it shall be unclean until evening. Now the children of Israel, the whole congregation, came into the desert of Sin in the 1st month, and the people stayed in Kadesh, and Miriam died and was buried there. But there was no water for the congregation, so they gathered together against Moses and Aaron. So the people scoffed at Moses and spoke, saying, Would we had died in the destruction of our brethren before the Lord! Why have you brought up the Lord's congregation into this desert to kill us and our cattle? Why did you also bring us up out of Egypt, to bring us to this evil place, a place where nothing is sown, neither figs nor vines nor pomegranates, nor is there any water to drink? So Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the congregation to the door of the tabernacle of testimony, and fell on their faces. Then the glory of the Lord appeared to them. The Lord then spoke to Moses, saying, Take the rod, and you and your brother Aaron gather the congregation together. Speak to the rock before them, and it will give its waters. Thus you shall bring them water out of the rock, and give drink to the congregation and their cattle. So Moses took the rod from before the Lord as the Lord ordered him. Then Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock, and he said to them, "Hear me, you disobedient ones. Must we bring water for you out of this rock?" Moses then lifted his hand and struck the rock twice with his rod, and water came out abundantly, and the congregation and their cattle drank. But the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, "Because you did not believe me to sanctify me before the children of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this congregation into the land that I am giving them." This was the water of contention, because the children of Israel scoffed before the Lord, and he was sanctified among them. Now Moses sent messengers from Kadesh to the king of Edom, saying, "Thus says your brother Israel, you know all the hardship that befell us, how our fathers went down to Egypt, and we dwelt in Egypt a long time, and the Egyptians afflicted us and our fathers. But we cried out to the Lord, and the Lord heard our voice, and sent his angel, and brought us up out of Egypt. Now here we are in Kadesh, a city just outside your borders. Let us pass through your country. We will not pass through fields or vineyards, nor will we drink water from wells. We will go along the king's highway. We will not turn aside to the right or to the left until we pass through your borders." Then Edom said to him, "You shall not pass through me, lest I come out against you in war." So the children of Israel said to him, "We would go along the mountainous area, but if I or my cattle should drink any of your water, I would pay you. But the matter is nothing. Let us pass along the mountainous area." But he replied, "You shall not pass through me." So Edom came out against him with a heavily armed multitude, and with a strong hand. Thus Edom refused to give Israel passage through his borders, and Israel turned away from him. So the children of Israel, the whole congregation, journeyed from Kadesh and came to Mount Hor. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron in Mount Hor by the borders of the land of Edom, saying, "Let Aaron be added to his people, for he shall not enter the land I am giving to the children of Israel, because you provoked me at the water of controversy. Take Aaron and Eleazar his son, and bring them up to Mount Hor before the congregation, and strip Aaron of his robe and put it on Eleazar his son, and let Aaron die there and be added to his people." So Moses did as the Lord ordered, and took him up to Mount Hor before the congregation. Then Moses stripped Aaron of his garments and put them on Eleazar his son. And Aaron died there on the top of the mountain, and afterward Moses and Eleazar came down from the mountain. Now all the congregation saw Aaron was dead, and all the house of Israel mourned for Aaron 30 days. Here ends the reading for today.